through detachment, okay, we would no longer have disappointments or any form of expectation. Because ultimately what we actually suffer are our own expectations based upon the beliefs and concepts that we have identified ourselves with. So it would be impossible to be disappointed in someone or something. If you're enjoying the video and you want to go deeper with me, check out my meditation masterclass. It's unlike anything. It's pinned in the comments below. If you do not have expectations, if you're simply present and work with what is from moment to moment to moment, there are no disappointments, there are no expectations, there are no frustrations. So from my perspective, when we actually experience authentic detachment, we are now detached from the ego-mind identity and the limitation program that it runs through thinking based upon beliefs, concepts, ideologies, and past impressions, or what we call memories. So once we have detachment from that, we experience every moment fresh and new. We're not bringing anything to the table. So there's no way to have expectations, and there's no way to be disappointed. More importantly, there's no way to suffer your own expectations because you do not have any through detachment. You're simply present and you're engaged in whatever it is that comes across the screen of your consciousness. And through that detachment, we don't react to things based upon previous identifications. Because we're detached, we can simply respond from the self or not respond, which is also a response, right? But we're not reacting based upon identification. So through authentic detachment, Catherine, I would say that we would lose the experience of disappointment. We would lose the idea of having expectations in regards to anyone or anything. Where do you find the motivation to want to be here? For myself, there is the tangible understanding of myself incarnating to be here now in this moment. We could call it the 21st century, if you like. So I do want to be here, and anyone who's here actually wants to be here. It's the character that you have created, or the ego-mind identity, that has become unpalatable for you. And therefore that unpalatable character is not able to work in an effortless or peaceful way within its own surroundings, or the environment, or the backdrop that we call so-called reality. So it's really the character that we actually create that doesn't work, that doesn't want to be here. The self, the soul, the sentience, what you really are, does want to be here, otherwise you wouldn't be here. So we create, just like everything else, we create our own resistance. And so when we don't work with the ego-mind identity, and we just sort of remain present through detachment of the ego-mind identity, there is no resistance to anything, because resistance doesn't actually exist. It's created. It is not part of what is. There is no resistance to anything. Now, remember, the physical eyes can never reveal the one true concrete reality. So this is why we don't want to use the physical senses for non-stop mental analysis, because the physical senses reveal very little. And frankly, so does mental analysis when we're using the finite mind or the intellect. That also reveals very little. So what we want to do is just let the five senses operate, because they're going to. But we need to start to refrain from the analysis or the judgment. And when we refrain from the analysis and the judgment through detachment, we realize that it's just life, it's just experience. And that's all that is actually happening. And by the way, that's all that ever happens. It is the character that we create that becomes the filter that is no longer palatable to us, and therefore it doesn't fit in terms of how the world is supposed to be in accordance to our character. It's supposed to be like this. It's supposed to be like that. People are supposed to be this way. There is no supposed to. It doesn't exist. So in terms of wanting to want to be here, as we said, your essence, what you really are, does want to be here. That's why you're here. Your character has now become so difficult to manage that it wants to leave. Okay. What I would like is for your character to leave and you remain here, present. So the more that we work inside and stop focusing on trying to change things outside of ourselves, which is really a fool's endeavor because it cannot actually take place. Everything happens within, and then that gets reflected outwardly. So trying to manage or control or even analyze and judge things outside of ourselves, to me, is just a waste of the Holy Ghost. It's a waste of our life force energy, our chi. So what we want to do is remove the one that is having the difficulty, the ego, mind, identity. And the more that we practice just being present, the more you're going to experience yourself directly. And the self is joy. It is peace. It is completeness. It is love. Now, when we're able to do that and experience the self directly, what's going on the green screen of consciousness really is irrelevant because it just comes and goes. 21st century, 5th century, 39th century. What difference does it really make? It's simply a backdrop for you to experience yourself within. Right? Self-realization has nothing to do with anything outside of the self. And the ego-mind identity is built upon everything outside of itself. Beliefs, concepts, what the five senses have perceived, and then the identifications with them. So none of those things are actually you. And this is why we start to suffer then when we say, I don't want to be here. Because the character that you've created is not really you. And the character that you've created is built upon everything that's here. And what's here is all low-frequency disharmony. Hence, we now have the experience of low-frequency disharmony. Because the character we created is built from that. It is part of that. It belongs to that. So wanting to want to be here is simply a function of residing as, for, by, and within the self. And once we're able to do that, the mental machinations just stop. Accept yourself so fully, Catherine, that it requires no effort to simply be present. And then simply flow from now to now to now. The beingness is online, and the beingness into your doingness. And notice that has nothing to do with mental analysis or expectations or disappointments. Those all belong to the ego-mind identity. And that's who you are not. Fast from what is going on here. Fast from the news. The narratives that are being thrown out to humanity to instill fear and a certain agenda, a certain action. Detach from that. And just work on being present. And the joy and the purpose will start to return to you. I hope you enjoyed the video. Now, if you are desirous of more of the real you, and less of your conditioned, agitated mind, if you know that you can create a life that you're not leading right now, but you know you can, check out my meditation masterclass. It's pinned in the comments below.